Alright guys, welcome back. It's me Christian. I've returned. And for today's video, I want to cover an email from a subscriber with a very interesting title. Semi-monkey branching. That raises some questions, doesn't it? I'm going to keep his name private and I'll refer to him as Jimmy. This one is going to be a long one, so get a drink, get something to eat, sit back and relax, and let's get right into it. So Jimmy writes in and he says, "Dear Christian, I recently discovered your YouTube videos and have been watching a few of them. I genuinely like your modest and honest approach to all those relationship topics. Appreciate that. Discovering your videos has to do with the recent breakup. I was the one broken up with in a sort of monkey branching way. I want to share my story with you, and you are free to use it in a video as long as you don't mention my name. The other names are already anonymized." Well, I've already reached out to him privately, so he has given me additional information as well. And now, of course, I'm sharing it with you guys. Some info about my persona. I'm a 32-year-old male from Germany. I've had a few people reach out to me from Germany. It's awesome. Working in IT, I'm a late bloomer and didn't have my first girlfriend until the age of 29. I think it has to do with my father, who was quite absent, working 12-hour shifts as a highway police officer. He was a very strict person and had no father himself. His dad committed suicide when he was a kid in the former GDR. He was and is nonetheless very supportive of me and could be the reason I often work my arse off and strive for excellence. Good man. So I spent most of my adolescence either working, studying, or doing my own thing. Perfect. I felt not worthy of getting female attention yet. I do have a good circle of friends, ranging from true friends that I can be open about anything to mere drinking buddies. Well, it's a good thing that you've compartmentalize them according to their value. My mum and dad are still married, but are not living together anymore. They separated because my dad had an affair with a co-worker and my mum broke down and suffered depression. Now, as you all know, I absolutely detest the word affair. Let's call it for what it is: cheating, betrayal. So your father committed infidelity, basically, and went behind your mother's back, and obviously she broke down, suffered from depression, which is understandable. She's now well and has dealt with it. Good. The funny thing, they both come along very well and help each other. We even met up on birthdays. So obviously you grew up in a very difficult situation. You mentioned your father was very absent because he was always busy working. He himself didn't have his own father, so there was very little he knew to pass down to you in terms of what qualities you should look for in a woman, what you should strive for in life, building up your self-esteem and your confidence, giving you a set of principles and standards by which you should live by, teaching you about honor. Now, obviously, he taught you about hard work. You must have seen that from him, which is why you emulated that behavior yourself. But as you mentioned, you didn't have your first girlfriend until 29. So there's obviously a detachment you have with your father, which has affected you in your ability to go out there and meet women and date them. Very important to keep that in mind throughout this video for you guys watching. So I have a calm personality and I stand in high regard in my peer group. Same thing goes for my job. The things I value are respect, accountability, loyalty, and friendship. I am the guy you ask for help, and I will always help you without any further ado. I'm also a person who is capable of entertaining people. They laugh at my jokes, etc. I'm one of the two literate guys in the group, but also have some technical skills, mainly electronics, motorcycles, and IT. I'm tall, athletic, and do workouts on a regular basis. So obviously he's built up a good base of friends. He values accountability, loyalty, respect, and he's done some work on himself, which is a good thing. He's aware of his situation, and he's not victimizing himself. He's not crying about his dad really not being there for him. He's trying to overcome that and building up his life in a masculine manner. No bitching, no moaning, taking action. That's very, very good. Let's continue on then. My first relationship lasted 1.5 years, so this was when he was 29. And we both weren't happy with it and broke up in an amicable way. I've had no contact with her since then, and apart of remembering her every once in a while, I feel no emotional connection to her. It took me about 6 months to get over her, more or less around July of 2020. Understandable. And that's your first relationship. Ended in a healthy way. That's perfect. You know, you both realise you're not good for each other, you didn't have children, you didn't get married. Obviously she wasn't toxic or abusive, neither are you, clearly. So you could end things in a respectful manner, and that's the way it should be. You know, when there's no chemistry or the compatibility isn't there, you can let each other go. You know, it doesn't always have to end in a nasty, disrespectful, shouting matches or infidelity. It can end, you know, in a normal way, and that's good to see. This relationship caused me to reflect on me and my life and to change things. Good. I started working out regularly, reading more than usual, and suddenly became more confident because you took action. You're doing things that you love. You're taking accountability for every area of your life. Of course, you're going to feel better about yourself. Masculinity grows through adversity, challenge, and through courage. You know, you're stepping into the unknown. You're learning new things about yourself. Of course, you're going to feel better about yourself. Well done. For the first time in my life, I would actively ask women out for dates. I met 3, made out with one of them, got dumped by another, and dumped one myself. Bit of variety there. I also discovered red pill content on YouTube but couldn't bear some aspects of it. While I generally think its main ideas are useful for modern men, like finding value in yourself and not depending on validation from other people, etc. Yeah, red pill and MGTOW has become way too toxic. And see, guys always want to cry about modern women that are feminist, promiscuous, but then what about modern men? Guys have no self-control. They live for lust. They care about having casual sexual encounters with women. They've got no honor. They've got no dignity. They've got no sense of duty or purpose. They don't have morals. They don't care about family values. They're just only out for themselves. So you guys, that anyone who's watching who lives that way, you're no different than a modern female. Because modern men, you guys, if you are that way, it's going to end badly for you. Living for pleasure, living based on emotions and feelings, or I don't need anyone, I can do it all alone. There's no sense of community, there's no sense of connection with anyone. You're going to suffer. And that's why red pill and MGTOW, it's toxic. You know, MGTOW is feminism for men. Crying, complaining that all women are the same. You sound like a damaged woman saying that all men are the same, and that's not true. What do I always say? Good ones and there's bad ones. Jimmy here was smart enough to figure that out, which is why he realized red pill and some of those aspects just couldn't bear it. I agree with you 100%. And I'm going to do a video about that at some point. Break it, this whole MGTOW and feminism stuff down. Continuing on. My story starts here. The moment you've all been waiting for. In August 2020, I was introduced to my now ex-girlfriend, a now 22-year-old girl from my hometown. I live in another town, around 20 kilometers away, but I'm in my hometown quite often. Let's call her Laura. Laura. So he's already given me a fake name. Back then she was 20. I had some doubts because of the age difference of 10 years. You think? But as she seemed a funny person and good looking, I approached her in a casual way over text, asking if she would want to grab coffee. Fast forward 4 or 5 weeks and we were together. I visited her often, cooked together, took care of her horses, etc. Her mum lives in an old mill farm building near the woods. So here we get into red flag numero uno. So he met her when she was 20 and he's 30. Now, what does a 20-year-old girl have in common with a man who's 30? She may be physically attracted to him somewhat, but it ain't going to go further than that. You see, when we look at age gaps, yes, women will always prefer a man that's slightly older than them because the man is more than likely going to be more mature, more established, grounded, knows what he wants, more direct, more masculine. Yet, the age gap shouldn't be too far off. So what you will typically see is a woman will date a man that's 2 years older than her, 4, 5, 6. Anything more, you kind of stretch. And yes, there's exceptions where couples do get along. But when you get anything into double digits like this, 10-year age gap, now you're stretching the connection. Because there's not going to be much where you can truly be compatible with in terms of what you want out of life, belief system. It's going to be difficult. So what I'm seeing here, and you can see it in different cases too, whenever there's a massive age gap, double digits especially, you're looking at a woman that is either a gold digger or using you. Okay? And in this case, and actually I know she's not, you guys are going to see, she was never a gold digger, but definitely a woman that is emotionally underdeveloped. There's got to be some type of flaw here. Unresolved childhood trauma, daddy issues. And this is what you see. Women that haven't really developed emotional stability, they're lonely, they're insecure, and especially when they didn't have a connection with their father, they will try and establish a relationship with a man that's older than them, so much so to where they tend to view him more like a father figure. He fulfills that role that she didn't have from her father. Because you don't bring her the financial stability that a gold digger is looking, but what you do bring her is the emotional stability. Because you're in a relationship, she has that comfort, like a blanket of security that she has someone to fall back on. That's why. Because let's be real, a 20-year-old girl that is beautiful, she's at the peak of her fertility, she can pick a handsome guy that's 23. She can pick a handsome guy that's 25. The same age, around more or less. So why would she go for a man that's 30? Why? Because if she's not using you for financial gain or to have a roof over her head, then you can be sure that something's wrong with her emotionally and she's using you to fulfill that role that she either didn't have from her childhood or because she's so lonely and she can at least use an older man to give her a sense of comfort. That's it. So that's red flag number 1. I know how to break it down. But as you guys know, that's what I do on here. And a lot of guys, especially if you're watching this and you're in your 30s and you think, look at me, I'm the shit. I'm dating a girl who's much younger than me. If you're in your 30s and you date a girl that's in like early 20s and you're in like a 10-year age gap or so, you might want to think how cool you think you really are. Because that woman is never going to be with you for genuine motive. It is going to be extremely rare. And many guys deceive themselves because they're looking at it through lust of the eyes. She's beautiful, she's stunning. She's young. I get her when she's beautiful and fertile, great. But still, ask yourself, why is she with you? 20 to 30 does not add up. The relationship lasted about 1 year, when she absolutely, out of the blue, came to visit me and broke up with me on the 27th of September of this year. When I say out of the blue, I mean it. She texted me often, called me often, genuinely cared for me, and 2 weeks before she broke up, we even went on a vacation, and she told me that she's so happy to have me in her life, and that she loves me, yada yada. I also treated her well, didn't behave clingy, and helped her when she asked for it, repairing a motorcycle, etc. I was the one who had to fight for his spare time in order to do my projects, restoring an old bike, meeting friends. She even actively asked if she could come to party X or meet me and the boys on Friday. So she was chasing and pursuing him, yet she still dumped him out of the blue. But again, nothing is a mystery. Everything has a cause. So let's dig deeper. We would sometimes go for hikes or ride with a motorcycle. She owned an old Suzuki, which was nice. And the sex was great, passionate, and it wouldn't stop till 1 week before the breakup. She introduced me to her family, and I often was invited for lunch on Sundays and genuinely liked them. Sounds good, doesn't it? If I hadn't mentioned the 10-year age gap, or the title of it, being a semi-monkey branching, you'd think, what is Christian talking about? She seems like a good girl. What's worth mentioning? Red flag número 2. She grew up without a father. Coincidence? He just left when she was 9 or 10 years old. She grew up with her older brother, cousin, uncle, aunt, mum, and grandparents on the farm. Economically, her family is lower to middle class, I guess. She's very down to earth, warm and modest, quirky and cute, and I would call her a traditional woman. No tattoos, never tried drugs, modest consumer of alcohol. I guess that contributed to my attraction, since they are so hard to find these days. So you think, wow, so far, Christian, what are you talking about? It sounds like she's a good woman. But the daddy issues start here. She grew up without a father. Well, he did mention grandparents, uncle, cousin and brother, older brother. Those are some masculine role models. The question is, did she really internalize that? Did she really have a deep connection? Was she influenced by other sources? Did she lick her wounds and heal from her father leaving? How much pain did it cause her? Did she overcome that, or did she stay stuck in that heartbreak of not having a connection with her father, which is what she really craved? Did she have that or not? Because if you meet a woman and she tells you she's working on herself, she grew up in a broken home, she went to therapy, that's okay. She's aware of the situation and she'll eventually bring out her femininity and she'll bloom into a good woman. But if she tells you, yeah, my dad left, but there's no mention of her healing, or worse, she says, I don't want to talk about it or I hate him, that's dangerous waters right there. Because if there's nothing else, if she's not giving you any more depth, she ain't healed, chief. That's going to stay within her. It's going to be bottled up. She's not going to know how to properly carry herself as a woman in some cases. She may not even know what qualities to look for in a man, let alone how to distinguish between a good man and a man who will use or take advantage of her. So, if you guys think these red flags are mild, wait till we get into the next ones. As Jimmy says, the ugly thing starts here. She joined the voluntary fire brigade in our town. This was back in 2018, so a few years before we met her, right? In case that is not a thing where you live, it's a fire brigade made up of volunteers only. They all work regular jobs but will jump out of their beds at 3 a.m. when a house is on fire or a flood occurs. That's very noble. And yes, I've seen that in different places. One of my friends, let's call him he gave a different name, but I'm going to call him Brandon. And I'll tell you why, because Brandon is the worst, as everybody knows. Joe Biden is, probably the worst president the States has had. But in honor of the meme, let's go Brandon. I'm going to call this coward Brandon. You're going to see why. So I have known him for 12 years or so, and he is also a member. He has been volunteering since he was a child and thus has a very responsible position. He coordinates operations. He's working in the municipal administration of the town I live in. He's currently 34 years old and got dumped 2 years ago by his girlfriend he bought a house with. Obviously, this guy moved in with a woman too soon. Pay the price. Unless you are engaged or you are married, do not move in with a woman. It's something she should earn. Get to know her properly before, or else you'll have a situation like this. He's a rather short guy, balding, and got his fair share of rejection from women. He has 2 long-term relationships in his life. The last one lasted 6 years. She was extremely controlling, consumed all of his time, and left him just to post it stating it's over. Damn, Brandon got hit hard. Also, he had to take the whole mortgage for the house he bought. This guy's put himself in a very difficult position. Anecdote, Jimmy says. He has a poster on his cupboard reading, "No chicks anymore." He wants to stay single and do his own thing. Laura knows about this post-it. So obviously his friend Brandon and the girl, his ex, Laura, work together at this fire brigade. I mean, this guy sounds like he's given up, right? No chicks anymore. Obviously, I mean, if you don't want to date women anymore and you want to take some time to be alone, you don't need to announce it or remind yourself, no chicks anymore. Unless you're so thirsty, you have such poor self-control that you need to be reminded, no girls anymore. I do find that a little bit weird, and I can definitely see some obviously low self-esteem there. But obviously everybody can improve. After I started dating Laura, one of my friends told me that Laura already had sexual flings with 3 guys from the fire brigade, one of them being my friend Brandon. So Laura loved to get hosed down. Yes, I had to throw that in there. Now you can see why the red flags are getting worse. But here we go. He also told me that Laura would try to get into a relationship with one of the guys, but they just wanted to have fun and declined. Again, both of the guys are more than 10 years older than her. Remember what I said before? Women with absent fathers, 10-year age gap. Either she's gold digging or she's using you emotionally. There you go. Look at the pattern. 3 guys from the fire brigade who she's had casual sex with. Can't pay a bond anymore. Keep in mind, this girl's now 22, so she was doing this back then when she was even younger. Come on. She's tainting herself. Again, both of the guys are more than 10 years older than her. Daddy issues, he says in question mark. Definitely. She also insisted to not date guys from the fire brigade anymore because if things would go bad, it would be awkward. She did that to herself. Note, she never told me who the 3rd person was, of course. I jokingly asked her who it was. And obviously the 3rd person was his friend Brandon, which he later confessed. So I want to just break this down for anybody who can't figure it out. You see, she's at 2021 right now, she's 22. You go back a few years, 4 years, she's way younger. Now, I asked Jimmy in another email to tell me more information, and he did say she had a body count of like 6 or 7, and 3 of them were the fire brigade guys. Do you think it's normal for a woman in her early 20s to have had that many partners? That's a woman that ain't so traditional and modest. Because the modesty, true modesty, is going to be in her heart, how she values sex. 3 of those guys, as you know of, are casual sex affairs. You were one of them, and you were in a relationship. So if she's 22, she could have had 1 long-term relationship in high school and 1 long-term in college, maybe, university. Other than that, if you're looking at any more, then you were looking at promiscuity. Pretty simple. And given the fact that all of these guys at the fire brigade were 10 years older than her, coincidentally, these guys only wanted to have fun with her. What do you think that is? Because they know what type of girl she is. She's willing to sleep with one dude at the fire brigade, then sleep with a different fireman, and then with another one. So they know, okay, she's not worthy to be relationship material. You can't trust her with your seed. She doesn't seem the type of person that would be worthy to have in a relationship, so at least they'll have their fun with her and then toss her to the side. So she tried with one guy, didn't work, another guy, and then with your friend, Brandon, in the past. And there you have it. And then you come and date her. Would you want to put a ring on a girl's finger when she's been run through or hosed down by the fireman? Can you imagine that? You marry a chick and, you know, there's a fire in your neighbour's house and it's the firemen, and they come out, they hose the house down, they put out the fire, and you turn and you look at them in the eyes and you know that they've run a train or they've, you know, independently, one-on-one, smashed your wife in the past. I mean, what is she doing? Community service? That's not wife material, guys. This is a woman that's had her fun at that much of at an early age. Damaged goods, daddy issues. It's in plain sight. Three guys, like she could have had one guy. That would have been a mistake, right? She sleeps with one guy at the fire brigade, regrets it, never does it again. That's called learning from your mistake. But no, she did it again and again and again. Guys, remember, a woman that is emotionally stable, feminine, has standards and values herself is only going to give her body to a man once she's established mutual reciprocity, emotional connection. She feels safe and comfortable. She has determined that there is compatibility, that this guy isn't someone who's going to pump and dump her. This is why good women will test a man and not sleep with him right away to see if he just wants sex or if he wants something more serious, if he actually cares about getting to know her. That way she disqualifies him without giving it up. So if a woman is willing to sleep with you and you're a total stranger, she has no emotional connection with you, what does that say about her? She's got no standards. She is going to do the most intimate act, sex, with a man that she does not know or care about. What does that say about her? Because any man that has standards for himself, what is he going to think? Wait a minute, I don't know this girl, and she's so quick to sleep with me. Okay, I mean, if she's going to do it with me in this manner, who's to say she's not going to do it with someone else, that she hasn't done it or is currently doing it? Okay, this doesn't sound like a woman that I want to get to know on any other level. Goodbye. And guess what, guys? Quality women understand this. So if you meet a girl and she's willing to sleep with you right away, it's not because you're so alpha and you're so amazing. It's because there's something with her that isn't stable emotionally. She's seeking validation through sex with strangers. daddy issues. Can't pair bond anymore. She's just messed up. Because any woman that's feminine, who's got a modest heart, isn't going to throw her body out like that to a guy she barely knows. Or even worse, put herself in a situation where her reputation could be tainted, such as work. So guys, it's very clear to see. Look at what happened. 3 firemen. 1, 2, 3. And one of them was Jimmy's friend, Brandon. Why did none of those men commit to her but only want to keep it like fun? Because they know what she's worth and they treated her as such. Me personally, I wouldn't even touch a woman if she's willing to live that way. But obviously those guys used her for sex anyway. She participated in that. She allowed it to happen. Because that's what she had to offer. And then she wonders why they don't want to commit to that. You think they're not telling each other, hey dude, careful, I tapped that last night. The other guy says, hey man, I smashed her too. And then here comes Brandon, yeah, I hosed it down with my pipe as well. And here comes Jimmy, and he gets into a relationship. You see why this is a huge red flag. And I'm saying this because I get new people all the time. I know there's going to be one young guy watching who doesn't understand this. If you meet a girl and there's a similar situation like this, you're disqualified. I mean, imagine if this was your daughter. Think about that. 20 years from now, you have a daughter, she comes home, and you find out from someone else, or whatever, that she's been sleeping with different guys of the football team in your town, or the 3 firemen. Would you not feel dishonor, like you had failed as a father? I mean, come on. So if this is the woman you're in an intimate relationship with, wouldn't it hurt much more for it to be your own daughter? Guys, you've got to take this stuff very seriously. You know, I can't make you have standards. That comes from how much or how little you respect yourself. Now, of course, we can't fault Jimmy entirely here because he was a late bloomer to relationship. Didn't have his first one until 29. His father never sat him down and told him this stuff. He learnt it the hard way, but he knows now. And I hope this lesson sticks with you guys too. Let's continue on. Because that was in the past, I didn't think much about it. Laura would sometimes ask if I had a problem with it, and I honestly said I couldn't care less. Note, it always lingered in the back of my mind nonetheless. So you're telling her, oh, it doesn't bother me, but in your mind and in your heart, oh, it does, doesn't it? Enough said. I also didn't feel awkward when Brandon was around. I was genuinely cool with it. Also, when we went to a baby shower party in June, Laura witnessed how Brandon tried to hit on a chick but got rejected. At this point, I dropped most of my sorrows regarding the two because he was actively trying to hit on other girls and not floating around Laura. Well, even if he was floating around her, he wouldn't be the problem, it would be her. Because if another man can get close to your woman, it's not the other man, it's your woman that allows him to walk in that door, or she shuts him out forever. Because think about that. You're a man, you're faithful, you're attractive, some women are going to hit on you. If you respect your girlfriend or your wife, you're going to reject all of those girls. Doesn't matter if hundreds of them hit on you, because you've only got eyes for your woman. So if she only has a heart for you, doesn't matter how many men hit on her or try to get in her panties. If she's for you, no other guy can take that away from her. So you don't really have to worry about him, even though I understand where you're coming from. It comes down to her, because the relationship is between you and Laura. And if she's faithful, it's in her own hands. Okay, so remember, She wanted to have a relationship with Brandon like 2 or 1.5 years ago. But he declined and just used her for casual sexy time. Think about that. He used her for sex. She allowed herself to be used for sex. That's a promiscuous girl. No, she gets no ring. She's already dishonored herself. Do not give honor to a woman that doesn't respect herself. Because, you see, one thing with promiscuous girls, which a lot of people don't talk about, I mentioned pair bonding, how it damages that, but there's more. Sexual transmittable diseases. Okay, mood disorders, personality disorder. Even there heightens the risk of cervical cancer in promiscuous women and prostate cancer in promiscuous men. For any ladies watching, avoid guys that sleep around, because that's another thing too. And then these women come with all these problems, all this emotional baggage, because she's sleeping with you, but in the back of her mind, she's always going to be thinking about those firemen pounding her instead. Because her emotions were invested with them, not with you. That doesn't go away. Which is why men prefer women that are pure, chaste and modest, not girls that get ran through. Let's continue on. Fast forward, what I expected as a 12-month honeymoon phase turned into something that left me completely shattered and broken. We both went to an annual party which is held by the fire brigade for their members. Active members as well as sponsors and the people who donate money once a year, me falling into the latter category. Very generous of you. I left at around midnight and she gave me the key to her apartment. So you didn't leave the party together. Now you said you put your past behind her, and you also mentioned how it still lingered in the back of your mind. Would you really trust her hanging around those firemen again? We talked about this, and she jokingly said, when all the guys send their girlfriends home, I will send you home. She arrived at 2 a.m. When we both woke up the next morning, she told me that she was going home with Brandon and that he said to her he was very happy that Laura and me are together. He then got emotional and said it's not easy for him. No wonder his ex dumped him with a post-it note. Jeez. It's not easy for him to see her together with me. So one moment he's saying how happy is you guys are together, then he's lying and saying that it's just too hard for him. I mean, he shared the same vagina with 2 of the firemen in the fire brigade. What type of man would want to go back to that? The only thing you should do is get checked out to make sure you don't have any STIs and turn your life in a much better direction. Choose better women. But no, this guy is in complete scarcity mindset. He has no value. He's got no standard, nothing for himself, and he wants to go back to someone from the past because it's easier than starting over and venturing into the unknown. So this guy is not masculine. He's got no courage. And there you have it. She then told me they agreed to meet at his place the day after and to talk things out. Oh, sure. Remember, she slept with him in the past. And now all of a sudden she needs to talk things out. On the day they talked, she would call me in the evening and asked how her talk was going and if things are now cool between them. She had a different mood than usual and asked me if I don't care that she met him and said she loved me. I told her since she's an adult, I will not tell her what to do and that I trust her. That's respectful, but I will keep a watchful eye in this situation. The next day she barely responded to text, but asked if she could visit me. She arrived, entered my flat, sat down, and started to cry. What followed then came straight out of the How Girls Break Up toolkit. It's my fault, not yours. I still love you, but my feelings, blah, blah, blah. Well, she's giving you a half-truth here. It's my fault, not yours. You can bet she's right there. It is her fault. It's not yours. But saying that she still loves you, but blah, blah, that's BS. I remained calm and made the mistake to tell her, take your time, go ahead and contact me if need be. She then left the next day and offered to visit me again. At this point, I knew things were over. Since I was in town the next day, because I wanted to visit a friend, I dropped off at her place and we talked. She cried and said she loved me and didn't know if she would regret that decision in 3 weeks. That's very specific. So she wants to keep you as a break glass in case of emergency. Because I was realizing that she broke up with me, I also had some tears coming and asked the classical why. Because everything seemed to be so great. She then said she had these thoughts for about 3 weeks or so, again with the 3 weeks, and cannot hold them back any longer. I said, okay, and I'll get my stuff and leave now. We hugged one last time and I drove straight to my best friend's, crying my eyes out. At least you had a good friend to support you, and there's nothing wrong with letting your emotions out. Understandably, in this situation, you will get over it. And obviously he does in the end. I don't know why, but I want to make clear that I didn't act like a baby begging her to stay or stuff like that. It's just that I had some tears coming. Dude, you don't need to justify that to me. You had every right and every reason to feel that way. You invested a lot. You cared about her, you loved her. And to have her dump you unexpectedly like that, of course it's going to be painful. That's normal. We've all been through that. I didn't eat for 3 days. I could barely sleep. That's part of you grieving. You need to do that. It's okay. The same week, I went to help a friend who brought an old house. We and some friends helped him demolish the old parts of the house, and Brandon was also there. Let's go, Brandon. And after some hours when most people left, he took me aside and told me about Monday night, where they both had their talk. He told me about when they went home that one night, where he said he was so lucky that both of us were together, and she gave him something like an offended stare. So, her heart was definitely not with me. That was all he told me, and I tried to cope with my grief. After 4 weeks, when I finally started to feel better, Brandon asked if we could meet in person. I said, okay, and went to his house this Tuesday. We had some small talk, and he suddenly started to say, listen, Jimmy, there's something serious to talk about. And I knew what was coming. He told me that before I found it out accidentally, he wants to be honest. Laura and I are seeing each other, and we're trying to figure out what's going on between us. So he stabs you in the back, but he's at least a little bit honest to tell you what he's doing. I felt like I was broken up with a second time. I reacted in a calm way, didn't make any drama, and he said that he doesn't want to lose me as a friend, and he would comply with any of my wishes in respect to my current situation, even going so far as to offer to completely abstain from any social gatherings of our peer group. I just said, don't bring her to the boys for now, and don't mention her name in my presence. That's a fair statement. I told him to take my perspective for once, losing her, starting all over again, and taking the usual 6 months to heal. He looked as if he was about to shed some tears. Well, let's give it to Brandon, at least there. Even though he went behind your back and clearly he always wanted to sleep with her, and that's the thing. Him saying that he was happy for you guys was total crap. He always wanted to sleep with her. He was just lying. But at least he was honest enough to confront you and tell you what he did. It doesn't make it right, but you could have found out from someone else, right? Who knows? Maybe he's just saying that to save his skin because he's scared that if he did find out by someone else, he'd look even more stupid. I then said I will leave, and he took me to the door. It's been 3 days since, and I feel the same way a month ago. No appetite, and I can't sleep. I didn't contact my ex the whole time, but texted her today with something which I would call a last goodbye, which I sort of needed in order to let go. It was something along the lines of, hey, just one last time. I talked to Brandon yesterday and I know about the situation. I just wanted to say that I'm grateful for the time we spent together and I wish only the best for your future. See you anytime, Jimmy. Well, Jimmy, that is very kind of you to send us such a sweet farewell letter, message, which is, a sweet thing to do for your own closure. However, did you really deserve that? You're far too nice. After what she did, she went back to the same guy she slept with in the past. You trusted her, you gave her all the free will to do what she wants, and she goes to have that little talk with Brandon, which obviously wasn't just a chit-chat. Maybe she was getting watered down again. Maybe there was a fire he needed to put out and she went to assist him. You don't know. But she definitely didn't just sit there and have a chit-chat. I can guarantee you that. I think deep down you know it. And obviously she felt guilty after being with him. And at that point she realised, okay, I'm just going to dump Jimmy. Which is what she did. So when she said it's not you, it's me, at that point, that specific thing she mentioned, she's telling you the truth. Because it is her, not your fault. She replied that she enjoyed everything, that she was serious about me and didn't want to lead me on. She also said that it was important for them to let me know this. Oh, so she betrays you and he's your friend, which obviously he never was your real friend, because instead of him going off and finding another woman, this lets you know that all the time she was with you, he desired her. He wanted her. Even though, right, he was still chasing after other girls, despite the fact that he had a post-it note that said no more chicks. He's a two-faced liar. And she got what she wanted in the end. She finally got one of the firemen to commit to her. So she thinks that's somehow going to save her reputation at the brigade. I know things will get better, but I'm at a loss. I know that wretched stuff happens all over the place, and I could have it worse. I still love her, of course. Some things I think about currently. Can I consider such a person a friend? My guess is credit to him for being honest with me, but what a measly person. I don't need that in my life. Now you're talking, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yes, he was somewhat honest to come and tell you the truth in the end. However, he's obviously been coveting your girl, your ex, behind your back the entire time. That's not a real friend. He's a liar at the end of the day, and he's just as unfaithful as she is. Disqualifying from your life as well. He can't be a friend. Number 2, was she loyal to me or we had a relationship? He says, my guess is yes or maybe. My guess is she was loyal to you at the beginning, but towards the end, the last few weeks, she emotionally detached from you. She didn't show you that. She was still affectionate and sweet, because he did mention in another email how she would cook and clean. She'd always be passionate with him and have sex. Great. But at the end of the day, from the very beginning, she was just in limerence with you, enjoying her fun, because none of those guys would commit to her. And once it kind of ran its course, she still had an attachment to Brandon. After meeting him, having that talk, it was her opportunity to, grow closer to him. That was it. She took a chance. So I would say she was faithful to you at the beginning, but towards the end she wasn't. Was I just a wild card for something better to come because you wanted to have a relationship with him in the first place? My guess is yes. I would say also. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean she wants him. It's just the idea of, if I can get this guy to commit to me. Because as you mentioned, he's unattractive, he's not really masculine or confident. It's not going to last long term anyway. On a side note, trying to gracefully handle the situation, kill them with kindness. No bad mouthing, no accusations, no contacting of friends or pathetic stuff like that. Good. Walk away maturely. Just remember, you were faithful, you were honest, and you gave it your all. You can walk away knowing that. Since she was the first girl I genuinely cared about, it hits me hard. I guess most people have this experiences when they're 16 or so and are able to cope with it better in the future. Also, trust issues. Definitely trying to do some sort of therapy. This breakup has made me see my blind spots and problems I carry around. He also did let me know he did end up starting his therapy at his first session and he's already feeling much better. So he's making progress. One last thought. Given the hastily nature of her actions, breaking up, waiting for 2 weeks, if at all, hopping into the next relationship, isn't this doomed to fail? Hence the title, Sending Monkey Branching. Well, it is. Not only is this guy weak, he's not going to have the balls or the strength to lead her as a man should. She's emotionally damaged. She's promiscuous. She left you to be with him. So who's to say she's not going to do the same? She had casual sex with 3 of the fire brigade, of 3 of the firemen. One of them obviously was Brandon. She ain't relationship material herself. So either she's going to get turned off with his weakness and try and hop to another guy or someone from somewhere far away, hopefully. Okay, so he's going to turn her off. Or eventually he's going to man up and realise he shouldn't commit to her. But there could be the exception where, for some reason they both settle for each other and have a miserable life, which what would happen. But regardless, it's not going to end well with fulfillment, love, mutual respect, and a desire to, spend their lives with one another for genuine motives. He's settled in life and so is she. And they're both going to pay the price for that. But the good news is you can start fresh because you're a good guy and you can meet a much better quality woman. In a way, you're lucky. You dodged a bullet. You didn't get her pregnant, you didn't have kids with her, and you've avoided committing to a woman that's been run through by different men. You can find a much better woman who doesn't just have the appearance of being traditional and modest, but actually is modest in here and in here. Okay, so those are my final thoughts on that. So, it's been a long video, and for you guys watching, if you are in a similar situation and you meet a girl and she tells you she's had fun with different men at the fire station, police station, wherever, you run away, okay? But all in all, guys, as you can see, looks can be deceiving. She had good traits, modest consumption of alcohol, right? Had a good little family life, no tattoos, no piercings, none of that, right? She took good care of herself. She was sweet. And he did tell me in the other email that he got back to me on how she would cook and clean. She'd give him lots of sex. She'd always verbally communicate how happy she was. Despite all of that, guys, remember, if the red flags are there, they will come out in the end. And they did. She had a promiscuous past, clearly unresolved daddy issues, and a 10-year age gap with not just Jimmy, but with Brandon and all the other guys too. So even though she looked on the outside this feminine, sweet girl who was modest and lovely. Truly, she's a woman that is emotionally underdeveloped, that doesn't really know what she wants, and has a struggle to maintain healthy relationships, as you can see. So if you meet a woman that has any of those specific red flags, remember Jimmy's situation right here and walk away and save yourself the pain, because there's much better women out there. Always check to make sure that her words and her actions match. Okay, if not, as I always say, you are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Or as I like to say, fool me twice, you can't fool me again. Everybody gets one chance. If you want to give more chances, that's on you. But there's a whole world out there. There's good ones and there's bad ones. And if you want to have a great relationship, marriage, or family life, you've got to choose a quality girl. And that is what I have to say for this video. So, if any of you would like to reach out to me privately, the email will be down in the description. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be up to date whenever I'm uploading a new video. And if you want to share, any questions you have, or even to book a coaching call, again, the email is there as well. And all my long-term subscribers, thank you for all the love and support. It means the world to me. And with that said, hope you will have a lovely day. I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.